Today I am interviewing Richard Sjostedt about his time in the Swedish colony.
The clean, fresh air. Don't have to worry about locking your doors. Low crime rate. There's been one murderer that I know of in all the years of that
not many.
Stockholm's been established. That was Willard Johnson's mother.
Mother, yeah.
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 What was school like for you?
Well, I remember I started school when I was 5. I cried and went home and stayed home a year. And so I went back the next year and went through kindergarten. I'll never forget my kindergartner teacher. She'd hold you on your lap and sing to you. In the little brown school across from the high school. And then so I was fairly bright, so I skipped this. I took second and third grades in 1 year. So I graduated from Stockholm High School in 1937, and potato prices were poor, so I wasn't able to go on to Caribou that next year, so I had to wait a year. So that winter, Carl Chanstrom showed me how to be. I made a pair of jumping skis. And so I went on and finished high school in 1940, and I wanted to go on to college, so I went down to Massachusetts and worked in a machine shop for 40 cents an hour. And I saved enough. I worked 68 hours a week. We worked 3 days a week, we'd work 13 hours a day, and then 2 days a week we'd work 9.5, and Saturday a half a day. And then when you'd get pimples on your arms from the oil in this machine shop, I worked for Olson Manufacturing. They were on the main drag of Worcester. And so we'd go down to the sauna and soak and get that cleaned up.
Yeah.
How did you get to school?
How did I get to school? Here? Well, I remember the first year I went, my mother would pack meatballs in a jar for me, and I had a room in Caribou for $2 a week. In the following year, potato prices were better, so I had room and board for $5 a week with Mrs. Crockett in town in Caribou. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I
the
remember
Crockett's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The son worked for the hardware store there in town.
My sister stayed with Mrs. Crockett.
Yeah. And things were tough though. I left home, I had $30 to my name when I went to Worcester. And I saved enough to go to the University of Maine. I got a small scholarship from Sears Roebuck for $100. And I lived in a cabin north of the school, paid $50 a year for this cabin. And the room was probably 10 by 12. And the fire would go out and you'd have that mud ice in a bucket. Little house out back to do your thing. Take my showers in the gym at the school.
What's a memorable story from your childhood?
What?
A memorable story from your childhood.
Well, the best Christmas I ever had, I think I was about 5 years old, and I got a sled. It cost probably about $3.50. Nobody had any money in those days. And that was one of the memorable and the Christmas programs at the church. They'd have, there'd probably be 20, 30 kids doing various songs and readings and plays, etc. And the highlight of the summer was the church picnic at Madawaska Lake. Get potato salad and homemade ice cream, and that was where it's no longer there. There were cabins there, and there was a little store, convenience store.
What was Midsummer like? How was it different from now?
Well, they didn't celebrate Midsummers like they do now, and I can't remember ever going to Midsummer Festival when I was a kid in New Sweden.
How many siblings?
I was one of 11, and I'm the last one. There were 7 boys and 4 girls, and one brother died long before I was born. He was about 4 years old, but we never saw a doctor from the time I was born till I was 20 years old. And I had to get a vaccination
Oh, okay.
to get into the University of Maine. And I remember once I was about 19, we never saw a dentist. I got 6 fillings in the tooth pulled in Van Buren for $10.
What type of chores did you have?
What?
What type of chores did you have?
Well, learned to milk cows when I was about 5 or 6. We started in the potato harvest when you were 6 years old, and you could pick probably 15, 20 barrels when you're 6 years old, and you get tired and you get down on your knees to the rocks, and we always stopped and had coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Even at 6 years old?
Yeah. Well, I didn't get coffee. The adults said.
How has the Swedish colony changed from then to now?
Well, it's quite different today. A lot of the old timers are gone, of course, and the town is going smaller. There was about 1,000 when I was a kid, and now it's down to about 200, I understand.
Yeah.
What was something you really wanted as a kid?
Wanted
Yeah.
an ice cream cone in the summertime was mighty good. My uncle had the place up at the lake where they'd have the church picnics, and he was very close with $1, but once in a while he'd break down and get you an ice cream cone.
Is there any other stories that jump out at you that were just...
Not particularly that I can remember. I remember when I was about 14, my mother went up to the clothesline to get a straining cloth and strain milk. And the grass was slippery, and she fell and broke her leg, and she wound up in a hospital for a month. We'd go down every night to visit her, and the whole bill for a month in the hospital was $300. And I don't know if my father had $300, but I'm sure he paid it when the harvest came in.
Yeah.
And you're fine with me posting this to the internet, correct?
What?
You're fine with me posting this to the internet?
I'm a little hard of hearing. You'll have to speak louder, please.
You're fine with me posting this to the internet so that it's accessible to other people so they can hear your stories?
I have a smartphone. I'm still trying to learn it. You're talking about the internet?
Yeah.
And,
Do you mind if anybody hears what you had to say?
oh no, not at all. No.
So she'll put it on a website.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that other
no,
people can see it.
My life's an open book.
Okay. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Is that it?
Yeah.
You can.
Call me. So I went back that summer to the machine shop and got 50 cents an hour.
Gee.
And then after I finished my second year, they sent me to Dartmouth College. It's now $60,000 a year, and they paid me $50 a month to go to school there. And the man that had signed me up at the Marine Corps, he was from Southern Maine. He got the Medal of Honor on Okinawa. Yeah. His name was Everett Pope, P-O-P-E.
Huh.
Yeah. And then, of course, I spent a little time in the Far East. I was in China for almost a year after the war, sending Japanese back to Japan. And we were living at the barracks in Tianjin. It's called Tianjin now. It's near Beijing. General Marshall, who was Chief of Staff in World War II, was there as Lieutenant Colonel in 1927. Yeah.
Huh.
And then so I came back after the war and finished school in Orono and then went west right afterward. And I couldn't believe they offered me a job here for $1,800 a month a year. And I went west, got $2,700. My grandson just graduated from college this year, and he started at 60,000 a year. You show the difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
life's been good. I have 5 children, 3 girls and twin boys. One's a missionary.
Oh.
He's with Campus Crusade in Orlando, Florida. His twin brother spent 9 years in the Galapagos Islands, which is off the coast of Ecuador. He went there and planted trees for the Peace Corps, and then became a tour guide. And he had Martha Stewart on one of his tours. He didn't know who she was because she became famous after he left,
Oh.
and she was very generous. So he teaches biology in a high school in California. One daughter's a nurse, one's a banker, and they've all done very well.